Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you all for joining me again. This is for Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. We've got quite a bit to go over today. I've got a few things at the end that I hope that you'll stay for. I think there's some very important things going on. So with that, let's get into the markets. So we've got the MMRI as our favorite risk indicator, showing an increase since yesterday in risk. We're starting to see some very interesting and more rapid fluctuations in the 10-year yield. So at this moment, we've got the relative strength of the dollar rising. That would put pressure on the stocks. And we've got the 10-year yield is hovering right around the 4.28. So stocks currently in the red at the moment, not deeply, but not positive. The futures as well are not looking so great today. Could be a bit of correction. So the sentiment is still greed over fear. We've got people talking about buying the dips, but it is weaker, significantly weaker since yesterday. So let's go into the calendar with earnings today. We are expecting the GDP numbers to come out prior to market open. So my expectation, if you've been here for a while, is that the GDP will be relatively strong, should do well because they count all of the production of weapons that we're exporting go into this number. So it's not actual manufacturing and it's not a sign of the real economy necessarily, but that GDP should be good. Thursday is the big day. Basically, we are expecting the PCE prints to come out. Those will come out prior to market open. So remember, power hour today towards the end of trading, have your trades set up because these will hit prior to market open. So we've got Wednesday and Thursday, we've got more company earnings coming out. I'm going to kind of breeze through these. So this for Wednesday and then Thursday morning, because I really want to get into more towards the end. So we've got tech leading the drop yesterday that happened in the futures. And this is before the economic data. They're talking about what we just did, the GDP and the PCE. So Hong Kong shares declining because they're having issues economically with their budget. And we're kind of looking at the Federal Reserve. So the market had priced in at least 6 rate cuts for this year. And now it's become pretty impossible that they can do that. And that's part of this market pulling back. They're not going to have that free money as early as they thought they would. But we knew that wouldn't happen. As I said prior, ECB and the Bank of England will have to cut their rates first. So I had this come out, and this really tells what's going on. The Conference Board revised consumer confidence data lower for 4 consecutive months. So when they bring out these numbers, they make it look however they need to for the market reaction that they want, and then they revise them later. So as you can see with this one, they've revised it. We are now negative territory for real consumer confidence 4 months in a row. So we had a couple of market things come out. First one is Apple. They were working on their electric car, and with the downturn and everything, they're talking about shifting towards working on generative artificial intelligence. So I think that's a better sector for them to begin with. They have retraced quite a bit and they're struggling a bit, still a strong company. We'll see what happens with this, but I think they're kind of getting more into what would work their business model that they currently have. So we've got artificial intelligence taking center stage as a Webb summit is kicking off over in Qatar. They're kind of the new tech edge city. They're really pushing innovation, and they've got a lot of large international money flowing through there right now. So with that, yesterday we also watched Bitcoin go above 59,000 on the spot price. So we're heading towards what they're calling the halving, and they expect that to boost it even more because basically it makes it a little more scarce. We've got the large players are now admittedly buying this. The United States government has confiscated large amounts and not said what they've done with it. Well, they've held it because they want to be able to manipulate this, but it's going to be a little more difficult than they thought. So, moving over into what is moving the real economy, not just the United States, but globally. We've got Macy's talking about closing their San Francisco flagship store. So, they've already shuttered over 150 stores. And they're closing now in San Francisco, which has been facing some serious headwinds for their retail and commercial sectors. So, we've got this building is actually in Manhattan. Just to show what happens, a Canadian pension fund just sold its 29% stake in this office. Its prime area, 26 floors, they sold it for $1. So they had already put $71 million into this property, commercial real estate, and it has a $220 million mortgage still on it. So we're going to see how this kind of plays out into the pension funds. About 5-10 years down the road, this is going to be an excellent investment, but they have to be able to hold and carry that mortgage in the meantime. So office prices down over nearly 50% from their highs. There's still more to go. So moving over into the economy, they're finally admitting this out loud. Central bankers used to keep out of politics, not anymore. And we can see this is perfect example here. We've got Janet Yellen urging world leaders to unlock the frozen Russian central bank assets and send them to Ukraine. There's massive corruption going on there, and they are keeping this war going just long enough to cover what they need to do until they are done with it. So we've got the European Union, von der Leyen, also proposing using the frozen Russian profits towards the Ukrainian military. So there's a lot more talk about sending troops, physical troops, and soldiers from the West. And I had a viewer say that they don't think that France, they're the main one talking about sending people, don't think that they will. I don't think that they will either. I've got a little more going on about this in a bit. But we've got this is talking about ECB, European Central Bank, also awaiting data before they start to cut their interest rates. So, as I said, they're kind of starting that narrative so that they can cut rates soon. So, on the war front with Ukraine, they have already lost. So, it is just a bloodbath going over there in the real stories, although in the West, they're keeping the story alive and saying that it's because we need to support them more, send more weapons, more vehicles. Well, there are Abrams tanks that have been sent there, some top of the line equipment, and they're absolutely being destroyed. So, although this is from RT and part of it is propaganda from both sides, it is being openly admitted that they are taking a large beating, so to speak. So, this war, proxy war, whatever you want to call it, because it's technically not supposed to be at war, they're just sending all of the weaponry here, talking about how it's good for the GDP because they're creating the weapons in the United States. But this is just a cover up. And I think it's going to be pulled along at least until the election because they have to cover a lot of the money laundering that has happened as well as some other things. So, a couple other things that I would like to get into here. So, Bloomberg is reporting now that Venezuela's violent deaths and crime has fallen to a 22-year low on migration. So, what has happened is these criminals are allowed now without documentation, regardless of their past status or their criminal history, to migrate into the United States, getting a fresh start here, getting cash cards and being supported. And now all of these criminals are here. So crime rate in the United States is expected to increase on this. And I think this is by design because once this all happens, there will be a severe need to document everyone and force identity because they're allowing this all to happen without any type of identity whatsoever at the moment. So, step in the solution, of got a palm scanning identity, although I don't think it will be palm scanning that is implemented. But they're talking about a new protocol getting funding from over 20 venture capitalists. So it's a huge new sector that they're talking about. They'll be touting this using artificial intelligence, but basically it's all identification, and it's another form of lockdown and control. So we've got the problem they're bringing in and the solution they will allow. So Texas still having thoughts about seceding and still some other things going on. So I don't know if this is a coincidence, but they're now having evacuations. There's massive wildfire going through the area in the Panhandle area. And this basically shut down nuclear weapons facilities. So I want to be clear about this. It's not exactly a nuclear weapons facility in what you would normally think. It's where they produce items that support a nuclear weapons facility. So it's not massive danger in that way. However, to all of the people in the towns here in this area, it's a very definite issue. So we'll keep you up to date on these things. I wish you all a green trading day, wonderful day in general, and until I see you again, my friends, stay free.